U.S. President Barack Obama arrived in the island last night and engaged Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller and her delegation in bilateral talks. His agenda also included a brief meeting with CARICOM leaders. A recap of some of the events of the day in just a moment. I'm Arroyo Eubanks. Welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine, the program that keeps you up to date on issues of national importance.
A healthy and educated people living in a clean, natural environment, reducing crime, improving the justice system and governance, building a prosperous economy. It's not just a vision, it's reality. Learn about the plan. Join the vision.
My country, Jamaica, has a rich heritage and is very unique. If we all pull together, we can make it the place of choice to
live, work, raise family, and to do business.
For more information on Vision 2030, call the Planning Institute of Jamaica or visit vision2030.gov.jm, your parish library, school library, or the Jamaica Information Service.
Good day, I'm Carrie Ann Smith, and this is your GIS News for Thursday, April 9. U.S. President Barack Obama this morning voiced his support for Jamaica's economic reform program and specifically the efforts to deal with public debt while still making investments in youth and strengthening good governance and the rule of law. The president, who arrived in the island last night, was addressing the media following bilateral talks with Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller.
The main aim of our dialogue, therefore, was to further strengthen a partnership that existed long before the formal establishment of diplomatic relations in 1962.
The two leaders indicated that high on the agenda was energy security for Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean.
Oftentimes, people of the Caribbean, despite having less resources, are paying significantly higher prices for energy. And if we can lower those costs through the development of clean energy and increased energy efficiency, we could unleash, I think, a whole host of additional investment and growth. And I think there are going to be a whole host of areas where the United States can be helpful.
Jamaica's positive performance under the IMF Extended Fund facility also featured prominently in the talks.
As Jamaica builds on the gains made so far under the program with the fund, we recognize that we renew our commitment to the economic reform program going forward.
This morning's bilateral talks also addressed the issues of climate change, strengthening cooperation in security and human resource development, and improving trade and economic relations. Following this morning's bilateral talks, President Obama and Prime Minister Simpson Miller joined other regional leaders in a U.S. CARICOM summit. It was held at the Euro Regional Headquarters in Mona.
Many of the issues that Jamaica deals with are issues that exist across the Caribbean. And so what we want to do is find out how we can be an even more constructive partner in addressing some of these issues.
The U.S. President later hosted a town hall forum with young people at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. At this morning's bilateral press conference, he outlined the importance of that engagement.
Discussing how we can support entrepreneurship, more student exchanges, more effective job training, and at the same time how we can support human rights, equality, and the dignity of all people.
President Obama also took part in a wreath-laying ceremony at National Heroes Park before departing the island for the 7th Summit of the Americas in Panama. Prime Minister Simpson Miller and the other CARICOM leaders are also taking part in the biennial summit. Meanwhile, Jamaica and the U.S. signed a statement of intent early this morning to pursue the development and deployment of energy-related technologies. The agreement was signed by the Minister of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining, Philip Paulwell, and the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Energy, Dr. Ernest Moniz. It facilitates the exploration of further areas of technical cooperation between the two entities.
MSTEM has identified the areas of energy conservation and efficiency, modernizing energy infrastructure, developing the renewable energy sector, fuel diversification, and especially in relation to the acquisition of natural gas to our fuel mix, strengthen our governance structure, the strengthening of that, energy efficiency in public sector buildings, and introducing energy efficiency and renewable energy into also our private industry.
The collaboration will primarily be executed through workshops, exchange of information, and periodic reviews of the achievements of the partnership, which will be measured against the agreed targets.
We have many areas where we can collaborate. We have been at Department of Energy, I think as you know, working in island contexts, especially for Hawaii and the Virgin Islands, and I think we see many opportunities for island communities to address what is often a very difficult and expensive energy situation.
The agreement is the result of previous engagements, including a memorandum of understanding signed earlier this year with the U.S. ambassador to Jamaica, which focused on energy cooperation to introduce cleaner energy and lower Jamaica's carbon footprint. And coming out of this morning's discussions, the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Energy committed to supporting Jamaica's efforts to serve as a base for the delivery of natural gas from the U.S. into the rest of the region. Minister Powell outlined why Jamaica would be a good choice for this.
And of course, we believe that Jamaica could be a part of the hub because of our geographic location in proximity to places like Haiti and other areas in the Caribbean, in the Western Caribbean. After these meetings, we are hoping to zero in on some of the specificity.
For his part, Dr. Moniz said his agency would be happy to facilitate discussions with the Inter-American Development Bank in this regard.
We are happy to do. We think it's good for the Western Hemisphere and certainly good for the Caribbean in terms of energy security, in terms of environmental impact, and I think economic development. And if you are meeting with Mr. Moreno, for example, with the bank, we'd be happy again to take part in discussions, to amplify discussions.
He said the U.S. could help with the development of analyses regarding Jamaica's access to natural gas. In that regard, he extended an invitation for the minister and Jamaican energy technocrats to visit the U.S. National Renewable Lab in Colorado, the lead lab for renewable energy and things like microgrids and energy electricity systems integration. And finally, Jamaica is to co-chair discussions by a G20 development working group on the peculiar challenges facing Caribbean countries. Finance and Planning Minister Dr. Peter Phillips is to lead the island's delegation to the IMF-IDB spring meetings in Washington, D.C. between April 12 and 19.
The minister will have an opportunity for formal discussions with critical stakeholders on the policies being pursued by the government to achieve macroeconomic stability, economic growth, and development.
Dr. Phillips is to be accompanied by Devon Rowe, Brian Winter, Colin Bullock, Helen McIntosh, and Judith Green.
The IADB-IMF spring meetings provide a forum for discussions among governors of central banks, high-level authorities of member countries, representatives of multilateral financial institutions, development agencies, investment banks, and commercial interests.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Carrie Ann Smith. Thanks for watching.
So time is money.
Easy driver. Well, no mean must man and taxi driver drive so bad.
Why him have to drive so hard? Me not gonna make you kill off me and me picnic them.
One stop driver. Make her come off this bus. Me say stop.
Me coming with you. The rest will not take chance in your life. Lord of mercy. That could have been us.
And look how we want the money.
Passengers, your safety is in your hands. Say one-stop driver and get off if the driver is speeding, overtaking recklessly, and not obeying the rules of the road. Don't give away your life. It is too precious.
The Companies Office of Jamaica has been facilitating the registration of businesses and companies. But did you know that it also helps to reactivate those that are dormant? Yes. And if you need to close that company or business, it will take you through the steps.
Closing a company, specifically a limited liability company or a business, can be a positive experience. It could mean the stepping stone to new opportunities and the resurgence of old dreams. But there is more involved in closing your company or business than just locking the doors. The Companies Office of Jamaica, COJ, has provided a quick and easy go-to package that's sure to make the process a simple one. Let's look at closing a limited liability company. Step 1. You will need to assess whether or not your company has stopped trading and has no asset, that's value, or liabilities, that's debt. Once you've determined that that's the case, you've gotten to step 2. File any outstanding documents your company may have. These include annual returns and notices relating to directors or the registered office, for example. In doing this, your company's filings will be up to date. Step 3. Submit a request for removal in writing to the COJ along with an auditor's certificate or letter. But before submitting the request, you should ensure it is signed by a majority of the directors of the company. The request must clearly explain that you wish for your company to be removed from the register of companies. The auditor's certificate is a letter from an auditor or chartered accountant certifying that your company has no more assets or liabilities. After doing this, the process is almost over. There are only 2 other things that you will need to do. You will need to pay the processing fee of $3,000 as well as advertising fee of $1,500 for having the company removed and publicized in the newspaper. So there you go. That's all you need to do to close your company. But here's something you need to note. Your company can be closed against your will. That's right. If the registrar has reasonable cause to believe that your company is not carrying on business or in operation, letters will be sent to find out just that. If no answer is received within 1 month, then the registrar will send a second letter again to determine if the company is in operation or not. If no response is received to the second letter within 1 month, then a notice will be published in the Jamaica Gazette and in a daily newspaper circulating in the island with a view to striking the name of the company from the register. If no response is received within 3 months from the date of the notice, the company will be removed from the register. Closing a business is a bit simpler than that of a company. A BN6 form, which can be accessed on COJ's website, must be completed and signed by all partners of the business and submitted. The business name certificate must also be submitted along with the BN6 form. Any outstanding renewal fees must be paid, and a late fee of $1,000 for each outstanding period will be applicable to complete the closure process, along with the closure fee of $600. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the company's office of Jamaica. You may go to their office at 1 Grenada Way, Kingston 5, or call 908-4419.
Up next, measures to safeguard our children, as outlined by our leaders and stakeholders.
Listen to the voices, crying to be free. Can we be the promise that we promise to be? Love and understanding are better than a war. People just laughing cause they've heard it before.
We, the adults, are supposed to blame because to how we grow our kids. It's not like first time when me get I and your one and you. So everybody busy with them own individual. So the whole system break down. That's why we have so much child abuse. You understand me?
We can see what this nation has turned to when it comes to kids. You have pedophile out there. You have all kind of different offender out there. And molesting the kids them. I'm a father with many and also grandchildren. And to be honest, I would want nothing to happen to my kids or grandchildren. So we cannot just leave it on teachers at school. It all starts from the home.
The media tell the story of the grim reality affecting many of our nation's children. Children who are facing trauma of all kinds as the attacks by criminals and abusers get more intolerable.
I know you're shocked, and indeed the whole of Jamaica is shocked at what has taken place. I'm sorry that it has happened.
The Ministry of Education after yet another tear-jerking tragedy. A call has been sounded from our nation's leaders and the general public for us to take greater care and protection of Jamaica's children. After all, it takes a village to raise a child.
It is sad for every time you hear child murdered. And it's happening one too many every time. And I want to make a special appeal to mothers, fathers, and communities. Our children are our future. Had I been murdered, Jamaica would not have had today the first female prime minister. The other leaders were murdered. Jamaica would not have benefited from them.
As the Prime Minister makes it clear, our future development and success rests in the young ones of today. So it is up to us to make the difference. It is up to us to speak out against societal ills, particularly among our youngest and most vulnerable.
We can start by being more vigilant. Being vigilant in educating our children of the do's and don'ts of talking with strangers, assuring them that even persons who are very close to them in terms of family members, neighbors, everybody, can be a danger. So we have to teach them to protect themselves, to be aware of all the signs that can endanger their lives.
And even as the community is encouraged to play a role, the government, through its various initiatives and programs, is ensuring that all avenues are utilized to safeguard our children. The Office of the Children's Registry, one of the agencies responsible for this, is committed to the cause and continues to be vigilant.
We all have a role to play in safeguarding our future. Therefore, I encourage all adults to become positive role models to our children. You are called upon to set the right examples by dealing with the challenges in a rational and caring way. You are also responsible for the overall well-being while giving care to our children. Therefore, you must become aware and remain alert in identifying and dealing with the signs such as child abuse, all the various forms including neglect, child labor, child trafficking, physical abuse, sexual abuse. And so I do encourage you, go to our website at www.ocr.gov.jm. Learn more about the roles of the OCR, how you can become a partner. Let's care and protect, not harm and neglect our children.
And I want to make a special appeal to parents, mothers and fathers. Keep your children close to you. We have a responsibility as a nation to stand up for the protection of our children.
Some marine, you know. Yeah?
Yeah, man, I have the package 60,000.
60,000?
Yeah.
How much I want?
Yeah, man, 2 bags I want.
Yeah, man, no one else. Yeah, man. Same. Alright,
what one, cat?
You don't know, I sit downtown the other day there.
Oh.
I want to come in them man, we buy and sell marina. One of them I sell a 6-pack for $1,000 and the next one I sell one for $200.
So where buy?
Buy 5 of them for $1,000. Think them can't rob me.
So Uncle Fancy, is the same $1,000 you would spend to get the 6? Seriously?
Tell them again now my math brains.
Math count.
Math count.
Sponsored by the Ministry of Education.
The sectoral debates originally scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday of this week were postponed until next week so as to facilitate activities surrounding the visit of U.S. President Barack Obama. But while you wait to hear those presentations, why not take a look at what goes on behind the scenes in the Houses of Parliament?
You are the conceptualizer and you are the advisor. I am the implementer.
An all too familiar picture in the House of Representatives. But those moments of humor aside, this chamber is usually the site for serious business.
The highest consideration has to be given to the health of the people if we hope to give Jamaica the future that our children deserve.
So, looking on from the outside, Have you ever wondered what goes into the planning and preparation for a day's meeting of the Houses of Parliament? Come with us now as we explore Parliament behind the scenes. Outside of regular meetings of Parliament, the atmosphere at Gordon House is that of any normal office, staff busy at work. With the two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and over 22 committees to support, the work can be challenging and time-consuming. But the staff is equal to the task. The clerk to the Houses heads the administrative division of Parliament and is assisted by a deputy, an assistant clerk, and a fourth clerk. Together, they are referred to as procedural clerks.
So we are the persons who advise the Speaker and members in the House, meetings of the House, on procedural matters. The assistant clerk is responsible for doing the minutes of proceedings, and minutes are to be done daily. So every meeting, minutes have to be done and presented the next day.
The assistant clerk is also responsible for keeping time during debates, alerting the House Speaker when a presenter's time has expired.
There is a second member's time for speaking has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the member's time for speaking be extended enough to allow him to complete his presentation.
The question is that the member's time be extended sufficiently for him to complete his presentation. Those in favour? Those against? Ayes have it.
A record must also be kept of all persons who contribute to debates, the length of time they speak, and even if they are given additional time to complete their presentations. As it relates to questions asked and answered in either house, the staff plays a critical role as well.
The deputy clerk has to get the question and order paper ready for the next meeting.
Whenever a member has questions to ask, they are put forward and presented to the House as a question paper. As with everything in Parliament, there are rules governing how questions are phrased and posed and how members bring a motion to the House. The clerk to the Houses also manages the production and the distribution of the order paper. This is simply a summary of the bills or legislation captured in the minutes which were brought to the House for some kind of action, whether for debates, amendments, or approval.
We have to see to it that bills, whether they're coming straight for the first time or they're coming from one house to the next, we have to ensure that they are printed on time. We have to vet them for form and content. And in the case of orders, we have to make sure that the right authority is cited in the body of the thing, and to make sure that the authority, what is being required of the House, there is authority for it. So these come to us from, say, ministries. Even though they come, in the form ready to be laid, we have to vet them just to be sure, because it's coming from us.
Procedural clerks and other administrative officers also manage the minutes taken during committee meetings and regular sittings. This entails a series of very important steps that begin at Parliament and can go all the way to the Supreme Court.
The action usually is we do an extract of the minutes for, say, if an order was done for the Ministry of Finance, for argument's sake, we have to send an extract to the Ministry of Finance so they know that this matter was dealt with. When we do exemption motions for members, and these are the members, under the Constitution, the members are required to make declarations of any company that they're directing that does business with the government, among other things. But we give them a copy of that extract and we send that to the Contractor General. When bills are passed, we have to send those to the Attorney General to get him to give what we call an interim certificate, stating that the bills meet the requirements of the Constitution, and then we send them to the Governor General for assent. When they receive the Governor General's assent, we have to notify the Ministry of Justice, and we send those to the courts and the President of the Court of Appeal and the Registrar of the Supreme Court, just for them to know that these bills are passed. This is now the law. In particular, when there are amendments, they need to know that.
In addition to the clerks, the Houses of Parliament also have supporting units.
We have the committee coordinator who heads the committee unit. We have a librarian. We have a chief stenotype writer who is a person who is a chief person for the verbatim notes. And we have a Hansard editor.
Hansard recorders are tasked with recording word for word everything that has been said in the House. This data is then taken to another section of the Hansard Department, where it's typed out as an official document and bound, becoming the lasting record of Parliament. There is also a Legislative Council, which provides independent legal advice to members and gives opinions on matters that are before the House. Other duties of the staff include alerting House members to upcoming meetings.
It used to be telegraph, now it's email contact, and if a member doesn't have email, we'll try to phone or pass a message to the person through other means. I mean, sometimes we've had to resort to calling party headquarters to make sure that people know things. And then they get an agenda, which is prepared by the leader of the House, and he normally consults with his opposition counterpart, leader of opposition business in the House. And the same applies in the Senate.
Hours before the scheduled sitting, staff referred to as the orderlies assemble the order and question papers and table them in the House. Other documents such as speeches are also placed on each desk in the chamber. And before each sitting, ministers and House members may be served refreshments in a dedicated lounge. And then it's on to the chamber to handle the people's business.
Highlights of U.S. President Barack Obama's visit to the island continues on tomorrow's edition of Jamaica Magazine, so join us then on this station. And if you're just tuning in, catch up on the important facts you missed by logging on to our website, jis.gov.jm. You'll get all the details. And while you're on the web, why not tell us what you think of our programs? Send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm or a tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Arroyo Eubanks. Pleasant viewing.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.